The man in front of you takes your wallet, your phone, your watch, and places them in a plastic bag with your name written in marker. You haven't done anything wrong. This is just procedure. You are 19. The room smells like bleach, and something underneath the bleach that bleach was not strong enough to remove. 43 people entered this building with you this morning. By the end of the day, none of them will have the same name they walked in with. You will be a number. The number will be yours for 8 weeks. After that, you will get something else. Nobody explains what. The dormitory holds 30 beds. The beds are metal frames bolted to the floor. The mattresses are 2 inches thick. You learn to sleep on your back because turning takes effort, and effort costs rest. And rest is the only currency that matters here. The schedule on the wall does not have a column for questions. Wake up is 5:30, not 5:31. You run in formation, shoulder to shoulder, stride matching stride, breathing in someone else's rhythm until you forget what your own felt like. The man to your left stumbles on the second morning, not a fall. A half step out of sync. The entire formation runs an extra lap. Nobody speaks to him afterward. Nobody needs to. The silence does the work better than words ever could. Training is 8 weeks. Crowd simulation. Defensive formations. How to hold a line when something living is pushing against it. How to hold it anyway. They put instructors in your face. Screaming. Grabbing, testing the space between your instinct and your training to see which one answers first. Your instinct says move, your training says stay, you stay. One night in week 3, the quietest person in the room speaks. Not a whisper, just low. He says he's been watching the instructors, not what they do, what they stop doing. Around week 4, he says they stop asking a specific question. He doesn't say which question. He says you'll figure it out. He says the ones who make it to the top always do. You don't ask him to explain. You think about it for 3 days. Week 8 ends on a Thursday. They hand you a uniform, pressed black, boots that weigh more than they look like they should, a helmet with a smell inside it that tells you someone wore this before you and that person is no longer here. Nobody claps. You are handed an assignment. You ship out Monday. You do not receive an explanation of what you just became. You are 22. Your hands are steady. That is the only thing anyone needs from you right now. The deployment is a port district. Dock workers. A contract dispute that has been running for 11 weeks and has finally reached the point where someone decided bodies in a line would communicate what negotiation could not. There are around 280 of them. Handmade signs, some in Spanish. A few older men who move the way people move when their backs have been carrying weight for 30 years. You stand in formation. Shield up, visor down. Through the polycarbonate, faces blur into shapes, mouths moving, eyes you can't read. You understand later that this is not a design flaw. The orders come through the radio in short bursts. Hold position, do not advance, do not engage unless commanded. An hour passes, then another. Your left arm begins to shake somewhere in the second hour, not from fear, from the weight of the shield held at the same angle for too long. You don't know which one would be worse to admit. You don't admit either. Then the line changes. A bottle, not near you. 3 positions to your right. You hear the glass before you see it scatter. The line tightens without anyone giving the order. Bodies pressing closer. The radio crackles. Prepare to advance. You move forward. The crowd splits the way crowds do, fast and uneven. Some people run, some people freeze. An old man near the front does neither. He sits down, slowly, deliberately, folds his hands in his lap, and sits in the middle of the road like he has decided that this particular piece of ground belongs to him and he is not negotiating. You step around him. You look down for exactly 1 second. He looks up. That's all. No words. 1 second of eye contact through a visor, and then you are past him and the line is moving and the moment is gone. That night you eat in the barracks. You finish everything on the tray. You sleep within 4 minutes of lying down. You don't think about the old man until the morning. Then you think about him every morning for a week, then less, then occasionally, then only when something reminds you. You never learn his name. Over the next 2 years, you work 14 deployments, rallies, stadiums, universities, fuel prices, each one different in detail, each one the same in structure, a grievance, a line, the space between them. You stop counting after the 9th. You don't stop remembering by smell. Tear gas has a specific smell. So does rain on asphalt at 2 a.m. So does a crowd that has just decided it has nothing left to lose. You file them without meaning to. A library you never asked to build. Somewhere around deployment 12, you realize you have stopped looking at faces. You don't know exactly when it happened. That's the part that stays with you. You are 27. You stand behind the line now instead of in it. The view is different. You can see everyone's shoulders. You learn to read shoulders the way you used to read radio static. Tension has a posture. You get good at spotting it before it becomes something you have to manage with paperwork. You command a unit of 11. You are not the largest person in the unit, not the fastest. What you are is the same every single day, and in this work, consistency is a form of authority that nobody argues with. You check equipment before every deployment. You check eyes. A nervous officer is a dangerous officer. You learned that watching someone else's mistake. You did not need to make your own. There is an officer under your command named Calloway. She is 3 years in, sharp, fast. The kind of person who sees the whole situation while everyone else is still processing the first detail. She would be your best officer if she could learn to time her questions better. She cannot. After a university demonstration, she finds you by the vehicles. She doesn't whisper. She speaks at a normal volume, which is somehow worse. She tells you the containment perimeter covered 2 exits. She tells you the crowd's movement pattern pushed people toward a single outlet. She tells you she ran the numbers afterward, and the configuration created a compression risk that wasn't in the briefing. She is not asking if it felt wrong. She is telling you it was structurally wrong. She has a diagram. You look at her for a long moment. You tell her to write it up and put it in the debrief folder. She asks if anyone will read the debrief folder. You don't answer that. 2 weeks later, there is a night deployment. 3rd consecutive evening in the same neighborhood. Residents. A demolition order. Families who have been watching their street disappear, one building at a time. Someone throws a firecracker from a rooftop. The line flinches. You don't flinch. Your unit holds. No escalation, no injuries. Clean. On the drive back, you pass a building with lit windows. 3rd floor. A boy, maybe 10, watching through the glass with a phone held up. Screen bright in the dark. You see the light. You know where that video goes. You keep driving. You check the rearview mirror once. For 1 second, you don't recognize the face looking back at you. 2 seconds, then you do. You don't mention it to anyone. Calloway puts in a transfer request 6 weeks later, approved within 48 hours. You sign the paperwork. Your hand doesn't hesitate. That bothers you more than you expected it to. You keep her diagram in the debrief folder. Nobody reads the debrief folder. You are 31. You have learned a second language. Not French, not Spanish. The language of rooms where decisions are made and nobody raises their voice, and every sentence has 2 meanings, and you are expected to know which one is operational. You coordinate now between the ground and the building, between what actually happens and what gets recorded as having happened. The distance between those 2 things is where your job lives. Deployments are planned days in advance. Intelligence briefings, crowd behavior projections, exit route mapping, estimated headcounts with variance margins. You sit in rooms with city officials and legal advisors and press liaisons, and everyone speaks carefully and everyone means something slightly different than what they say, and your job is to translate in both directions without losing anything critical in the process. The words they use in these rooms: maintaining public order, managing civil unrest, proportionate response. You wrote those words yourself once in a report and felt nothing. That was the moment you knew the second language had taken hold. 3 months in, you are asked to revise an incident report, not to falsify it. That word is never used, just to adjust the language, reframe the sequence. The facts remain. The facts remain exactly as they were. Only the sentences change. You spend 40 minutes on it. You save both versions. The original in one folder, the revision in another. You tell yourself it is for reference. You do not examine what it says about you that you needed to keep the original at all. Then a Tuesday afternoon, a public square, thousands, international press. Your orders are clean, contain, do not engage without direct threat. It holds for 4 hours, and then a kid, maybe 17, climbs onto the hood of a command vehicle. Not threatening, not armed, just standing there with his arms out while the crowd below him makes noise that the cameras are going to turn into a headline by morning. You have 8 seconds to decide. You call it de-escalation. You have two officers talk him down in 6 minutes. No force, no footage worth running. The press moves on. Your superior tells you that was well handled. You nod. But in the debrief, you think about the 8 seconds. How close the other call was. How different the paperwork would have read. You still have both versions of that incident report, filed separately. You have never opened them side by side. You are not certain you want to know what the comparison would show you about who you were becoming. You are 36. Your desk has 4 stacking trays. They are always full. The job used to be about what happened in the street. Now it is about what gets written down afterward. You have learned that these are not the same thing. You have learned that the second one is more powerful than the first. You oversee multiple units across an entire district. Staffing, training standards, equipment procurement, incident reviews. You spend more time reading reports than you ever spent writing them. You read the way a doctor reads an x-ray, looking for the thing that isn't supposed to be there. It takes you 6 weeks to find it. 3 incidents, 4 months. Different locations, different units. Same complaint, worded differently each time by people who don't know each other, which means the consistency is not coordination. It is experience. 2 of the 3 incidents involve officers from the same unit. The unit commander is a 20-year veteran, decorated. His name appears on a plaque in the 3rd floor hallway. He coached 2 of the current division heads when they were junior officers. His performance record is spotless. The camera footage from 3 separate incidents has technical errors during the same 4-minute window each time. 3 incidents, 3 camera failures, same 4 minutes. You take it upstairs, your superior reads the file slowly, closes it, leans back, tells you context matters, tells you the optics of pursuing this are complicated right now, tells you these things require careful handling. You push back, carefully, the way you have learned to push back in buildings like this one. The review proceeds. Narrowly, 2 officers receive retraining. The commander receives a formal advisement. 1 document. No consequences attached to it. The complaints are administratively closed. There is 1 document on your desk that you have not signed. It has been there for 11 days. It is the closure summary. Your signature is the last required. Without it, the file stays technically open. On day 11, you sit in your car in the parking structure for 20 minutes. The radio is on. A news program mentions the unit commander by same in a positive context. A community award. You turn the radio off. You sit in the dark with the engine running. On day 12, you sign the document. You date it day 1. Nobody will notice. You think about the man who taught you how to hold a shield. Week 2 of training. His voice when he said holding the line was not about strength. It was about deciding in advance that you would not move. You wonder when he made that decision about everything else. You file the closure summary. You keep a copy at home, not in a cabinet, in a box, under other things. The box is the first thing you have kept that you cannot explain to anyone else. You are 41. Your photograph is in the newspaper for the first time. You are not smiling in it. That was not a mistake. You run an entire riot response division now. Hundreds of officers, multiple active units, a budget, a press office, a direct line to the city's public safety directorate. Your name appears on documents that matter. Your name appears on documents that don't. You have learned to tell the difference by the weight of the folder they arrive in. Then, a Thursday evening in the Eastern District. A demonstration that had been orderly for 6 hours becomes something else in under 4 minutes. Tear gas is deployed, standard protocol, authorized, documented, and then a canister travels 31 meters at a downward trajectory and strikes a girl in the side of the head. She is 16. She was not in the demonstration. She was 14 meters from the edge of the crowd on a sidewalk, walking home from a tutoring session. 14 meters. You know this number because 3 days later you watch the incident footage yourself and you measure it. You watch it 23 times that first day. You do not need to watch it again after that. You have every frame. By morning, your name is in every headline. The internal investigation runs its course. The deployment was within protocol. That finding is accurate. That finding is also the most damaging thing the investigation could have produced because it means the protocol authorized what happened to a girl 14 meters from the crowd, and now you have to stand in front of a council and explain that. The hearing is on a Wednesday. You wear your dress uniform. Under the table, your right thumbnail is pressed into the center of your left palm. Hard enough to feel, not hard enough to show. You speak about proportionality. You speak about real-time decision-making. You speak about training. You speak carefully for 31 minutes. Afterward, a council member finds you in the corridor, tells you that you handled it well, tells you the optics will follow you. You already knew that. Before we go further, The question from week 1 of training, the specific question the man told you, the ones who make it to the top stop asking. You are getting close to the answer. Stay with this. You change the protocol quietly, internally. The revision is dated 6 weeks after the incident. No press release, no announcement. Just a number in a document that anyone who knows how to read deployment procedure will understand immediately. Very few people know how to read deployment procedure. You don't sleep well for weeks, not because of the headlines, because you already knew the range was wrong before anyone told you. You knew it the first time you watched the footage. Frame 9. You never say that publicly. You are 46. The office has a window that faces the city. You have stood at that window more times than you can count. You are still trying to decide if what you feel looking at it is pride or something that just resembles pride from the inside. Your name is on the door. You have an assistant, a communications team, a standing weekly meeting with the commissioner herself. Riot response is one of 12 divisions under your oversight. You think about operational details less. You think about architecture more, systems, doctrine, the structures that decide what is possible before anyone in the field makes a single choice. You commission an independent study on de-escalation training. The findings come back clear. Less confrontational posture, more communication-based intervention, earlier engagement before tension compounds. The data is not ambiguous. You champion it internally. The resistance is immediate. Old guard commanders, men who have been in this institution longer than some of your officers have been alive. They don't argue with the data. They argue with the source. Academics, people who have never held a line, people who will not be standing there when it goes wrong. You push it through anyway, partially. A pilot program, 4 units, 18 months, and then the results come in and they are not ambiguous either. Fewer injuries on both sides, faster resolution times, lower rates of redeployment to the same locations. One incident in Unit 3 stands out. A man with a knife. 40 minutes of negotiation. Nobody hurt. The officer involved is 26 years old and has been through the new training twice. That footage is not included in the formal summary. Anecdotal, the review committee notes. Insufficient sample size. You present the full findings to the commissioner on a Tuesday morning. You have prepared for 40 minutes. She listens. She nods twice. Halfway through your 3rd section, she looks at her watch. Once. Just once. You see it. You know what it means. The meeting continues for 20 more minutes, but it ended in that moment and both of you know it. Reform reads as weakness in an election year. The pilot program is quietly shelved. That evening, you drive to your house and you park in the garage and you do not go inside immediately. You sit, you think about the box. You go upstairs and you put a copy of the full findings inside it, next to the unsigned document from level 5, next to the 2 versions of the incident report from level 4. Then you make one call from the garage, not from inside the house. 3 minutes. You don't say who you called. You don't call again. The box is getting heavy. You tell yourself it is insurance. Some nights you are not entirely sure what you are insuring against or who. You are 51. The photograph on the wall outside your office shows 22 commissioners before you. You have studied every face. You are looking for the one who knew exactly what they were walking into. You have not found them yet. Your appointment makes the front page. Interviews, profiles, photographs outside headquarters in the morning light. The first officer in your department's history to have served at every operational tier before reaching this office. That detail appears in every article. You read each one. You are looking for the sentence that mentions what it cost. It is not there. Your first year brings 2 major crises back to back. A citywide transit strike that paralyzes the downtown core for 11 days. Then a demonstration in the Port District that becomes 3 consecutive nights of confrontation. You manage both personally. You are in the operations room at 3 a.m. You make decisions that will be second guessed in daylight by people who were asleep when you made them. You get most of them right. On the 3rd night, a unit commander acts without authorization. A crowd is pushed toward a dead-end street. 43 people arrested in a confined space in under 8 minutes. You learn about it from a social media post at 2 a.m. Not from your radio. Not from your chain of command. From a post. In the post, there is a photograph of a woman sitting on the ground with her hands zip-tied behind her. She is 6 months pregnant. She is looking directly at the camera. She is not crying. That is somehow worse. The tactic is later ruled unlawful. You didn't order it. You didn't know it was happening until it was over. But your name is at the top of the organizational chart, and that is not a technicality. That is the entire point of the position. The mayor uses the word optics 4 times in 12 minutes. You count, you nod, you do not write that down anywhere, but you remember it the way you remember frame 9 of the canister footage, involuntarily, permanently. You implement mandatory body camera compliance across all operational units. You rewrite the authorization chain yourself. Every escalation requires real-time sign-off. The document is 34 pages. You spend 3 weeks on it. You read it one final time at 11 p.m. the night before you sign it, not to check it. You have already checked it. You read it because you want to remember what it felt like to believe a document could hold a line that people had already decided to cross. Some call it leadership, some call it self-preservation. You have stopped arguing with either interpretation. The institution taught you that both things can be true at the same time. That is precisely how the institution protects itself. Somewhere in a garage, in a box, there is an unsigned document from 11 years ago, a copy of a shelved pilot program, 2 versions of an incident report, and a record of a 3-minute phone call you have never repeated or explained. You have never decided if keeping it was wisdom or cowardice. At 51, you are no longer sure there is a difference. You are 54. A national conversation needs a face. Your face is available. The incident is not in your city, not in your jurisdiction, not connected to any decision you have made in the last 4 years. But your department is now a reference point in every editorial, every panel discussion, every political speech about what systemic failure looks like. Your name is the shorthand. You did not write that sentence. You are living inside it. A new administration takes office in March. The incoming public safety minister wants to signal reform. Signals require symbols. Symbols require faces. Your contract is due for renewal. It is quietly not renewed. No hearing. No formal process. A meeting with the deputy minister on a Tuesday afternoon. A prepared statement thanking you for your service. 35 years. The statement is 4 sentences. You count them on the drive home. It is raining. Light rain, the kind that doesn't justify an umbrella, but soaks through a jacket given enough time. You carry an umbrella out of the building. You don't open it. You walk to the parking structure in the rain, and you sit in your car and you think about the box in your garage and whether any of it matters now, and whether it ever did. The person they appoint to replace you calls within the week. Polite, professional, asks if there is any institutional knowledge you would like to pass along, any context that would help with the transition. You think about the box, the unsigned document, the 2 incident reports, the pilot program that worked and was shelved, the 3-minute call from the garage. You tell him there is nothing he couldn't find in the official record. Your first evening without a department-issued phone, you reach into your jacket pocket 3 times before remembering. 3 times, at dinner, muscle memory from 35 years of being reachable. The pocket is empty, you finish your meal, you go to bed at a reasonable hour for the first time in longer than you can calculate. The question from week 1 of training, the specific question, the ones who make it to the top stop asking. You know the answer now, you have known it for a while. The answer is why you kept the box. You are 61, you are the oldest person in most rooms you enter now. That used to mean something different. You consult, think tanks, university panels, the occasional government working group that needs someone with operational credibility in the room, so the recommendations don't look like they were written entirely by people who have never stood in a line at 2 a.m. waiting for something to break. You speak carefully and honestly, which means you are invited back less and less. You have made your peace with that. You watch your former department on the news. New protest, new deployment, new controversy. The footage looks familiar. The language in the press release looks familiar. You wrote a version of that press release yourself. Level 6, level 8. You know exactly what it is designed to say and exactly what it is designed to avoid saying. And you know that the person who wrote it also knows and that they went home afterward and sat in their car for a while. You are asked to appear on a reform panel. You accept. You say the things you could not say as commissioner. That protocol is not the same as ethics. That accountability without structural change is theater that everyone attends and nobody believes. That the hardest thing about wearing that uniform was never the violence you faced. It was the silence you were asked to maintain, and the moment you stopped noticing you were maintaining it. The moderator moves quickly to the next question. The clip circulates anyway. You receive 3 calls that week, 2 from former officers. They don't say much, just that they heard it. Just thank you. The 3rd call is from a current official who strongly advises you to be more measured in your public statements. You listen to the full message. You do not call back. Now the answers. The question from week 1. The specific question the ones who make it to the top stop asking. It is not whether something is legal, not whether it is effective, not whether it is defensible in a review. The question is whether it is right. Simple. Unanswerable in a conference room. The question the institution cannot process without breaking down. You stopped asking it somewhere around level 4. You remember the incident report, both versions. That was the moment. The face in the rearview mirror at level 3. You understand it now. You didn't change suddenly. You changed the way water changes stone. Too slow to watch. Only visible when you look back at the shape of what remains. The unsigned document, it is still in the box. You brought it to a policy working group last year. Carried it in your bag the entire day. Nobody asked about it. You carried it home. It is still there. The 3-minute call from the garage. You called Calloway, the officer who had the diagram, who asked if anyone read the debrief folder. You told her she had been right. That was the entire call. She was silent for 4 seconds. Then she said, "I know." Then you both stayed on the line for another 40 seconds without speaking. Then you hung up. You think about the old man who sat down in the road, the boy with the phone at the 3rd floor window, the girl 14 meters from the crowd, the woman in the parking structure photograph, looking directly at the camera with her hands behind her back, and not crying. You were never just climbing ranks. You were paying in installments, level by level. A question here, a signature there. A transfer approved without hesitation. A call not returned. Small amounts. Reasonable amounts, the kind of amounts that don't feel like loss at the time because the institution is very good at making each payment feel like a necessary cost of the next level. The box in the garage is not evidence of wrongdoing. It is not a weapon. It is not heroism. It is a proof that somewhere inside the machine, across 35 years, you kept a part of yourself that the machine never got to process, that you noticed, that you kept the original report alongside the revision, that you measured 14 meters, that you counted 4 sentences, that you made 1 call from a parking garage and told someone she had been right. The institution doesn't forget. That is the part nobody tells you. It remembers exactly what it needs to and forgets exactly what it needs to. The question is whether you let it decide for you which parts of you are worth keeping. You didn't entirely. On most days, that is enough.